time to rev those engines and the countdown to Daytona. NASCAR drops the green flag on the 2018 season with the 60th running of the Daytona 500. The defending champ is ready. Danica hits the track one final time. Will hit the beach where it all began. It's countdown to Daytona. Hello from Daytona International Speedway. This is Countdown to Daytona. I'm Dan Lucas. It's hard to believe this is the 60th running of the Daytona 500, yet it's still the race drivers want to win the most. It's also the beginning of a long run for a championship, and every driver that starts here has high hopes.
When you win this race, they call you a Daytona 500 champion for the rest of your career.
Martin Truex Jr. is the defending Monster Energy NASCAR Cup champion, but he's never won the Daytona 500, and that bothers him.
You've been close, heartbreaker in 2016, and even last year being right there at the end and running out of gas.
This is the only sport where its so-called Super Bowl kicks off the season, and there is not a driver at this level that has not dreamed about victory lane at Daytona.
This is the pinnacle. I mean, I wrote about it when I was 7 years old, about winning this race and how big it would be.
It is a race that celebrates the legacy and tradition of the sport, but also gets the sport kicked off for its season.
Brad Keselowski has won a Cup championship and taken the checkered flag at Daytona, but not the 500.
And, of course, the biggest purse, which always makes Mama happy.
The Daytona 500 sets the tone for the season. Ask Jimmie Johnson, who crashed out of last year's race.
But it's plate racing. When you come out on the other side of it and win, there's such a unique feeling to being successful at a plate track that it kind of outweighs all the frustrating days. There's more frustrating days than exciting days.
We put a lot into winning here, but we also know that we have to go to Atlanta the week after, and the same amount of points are on line.
It is race one, but it is the one.
It's everybody around you, everybody that shaped and molded you as a racer, from local guys back home I learned from. I mean, this is the one you've worked your whole life for.
Last year's Daytona 500 was a tough race that tested everyone's gas mileage, and one by one, cars went from the front of the field to out of fuel. Then there was Kurt Busch, putting himself in perfect position to win the Daytona 500. I sat down with the defending champ, who says he wants to win Daytona again.
From Las Vegas, the 2004 champion of the series, Kurt Busch, for Gene Haas and Tony Stewart.
Go back to last year's race and think about those last 3 laps, 2 laps. Were you worried about gas like everyone else?
It was a tight race on fuel for sure, and everything that added up to those final 50 laps. I knew we were close, and so I never wanted to take the lead to be that lead car burning up the fuel. I wanted to ride second, 5th, 8th. I wanted to be in the draft and riding at half throttle. That way, I didn't have to worry about fuel in the final few laps and just go full throttle.
You saw the cars one by one dropping off. At any point were you thinking, please don't be me, please don't be me? You knew you were moving to the front.
I didn't think that. I just stayed positive with it, knowing that we did all of our homework the best way we could with the fuel cell, being able to pick up all the fuel, and then with the tire wear, trying to have the higher pressures to have less rolling resistance, and then just saving fuel riding around in the draft, because at the end, you cannot lift off the gas. You have to be full throttle, minimum the last 5 laps.
You crossed that finish line. What was the first emotion?
Somewhat of a disbelief, like when was everybody going to come back by and zoom by me and pass me, because my mirror bracket broke with about 30 laps to go and I couldn't see behind me. And when I squirted out, made my move on the last lap, that's when I wanted to do it. The spotter said, "You're clear by 3, clear by 4. I'm like, oh boy, say 5 please next, don't say back to 3. And he said clear by 5. I really thought the field was going to come zooming back by. They didn't. I was in slight disbelief, like, this happened. This happened. I mean, it was just, but then the emotions hit you on all the teamwork, all the preparation.
It always opens doors. Anyone who wins this race, they say it's life-changing. How was it life-changing for you? I know you've done some things off the track as well, on television. You've had some interesting opportunities. A lot of it came from this day.
It's been amazing to win the Great American Race. As a kid, you dream about it. You watch the spectacle of Daytona from TV, and to go there in person. That's what I encourage everybody to do, is to go there if they haven't seen that race, just to experience it all. There's so much going on now, pre-race with concerts. There's always a big Grand Marshal name, and Dale Jr. is our guy this year. And then just again, the victory lane side of it. Winning that race and the other things that come with it, it happens because it's the most powerful and prestigious stock car race there is.
How much pressure is it as the defending champion as opposed to coming in wondering how the team's going to do?
I actually feel more pressure this year than I ever have before because I want to defend that title. I want to keep all the spoils, all the cool stuff that goes along with winning Daytona to ourselves at Stewart-Haas. And the big thing, too, though, is to defend it because it hasn't been done since the early 90s to go back-to-back like Sterling Marlin did.
When we come back, she has set the standard for all women in the sport of racing. Now Danica Patrick is getting ready for her final Daytona 500. We'll find out what she's going to be up to after racing next. Welcome back. This year's Daytona 500 will be the last NASCAR race for Danica Patrick. She once won the pole position here in qualifying. Now she's beating the competition with several ventures off the track. Gabrielle Shirley sat down with Patrick to get her thoughts on life after racing.
This is the year of the Danica Double with Daytona 500, Indy 500. I mean, what does this year mean to you?
I feel good. I feel excited. I mean, the idea of having a lot of time off is like exciting to me because this is the start of my 27th year of racing, just the excitement of having time off. But I know that when I go to work these days, not all of them, but some of them I'm like, man, I'm trying to quit this. I'm trying to quit this work thing. So I'm looking forward to it.
What are you going to miss most about not being behind the wheel?
I don't know. I mean, I've raced since I was 10 years old, so I don't know what it is that will feel like the biggest loss. I mean, I can think of a lot of ways that I will gain, like first and foremost, like freedom. I would imagine I would miss the competition, probably. Like that really like finite, highest level mental state that you enter when you're in elite competition.
Do you envision yourself staying connected to racing in any sort of way?
And honestly, I don't know, and I don't think so. There's a lot of other things I really enjoy doing, so that's kind of one of the things that showed me it was time to move on when I'm away from the track. All the other businesses I have are the things that are what I really, really love and enjoy and have turned into businesses.
So you mentioned other interests. The Vineyard, your clothing line, your book. Do you have a favorite?
They're all fun and different. I mean, like the Vineyard and the wine is like probably my least amount of work. But I think it also has maybe one of, some of the highest potential of being the most consistent for me moving forward. And let's face it, the events are fun. Like it's wine and food and dinners and all things that I love. And then the clothing is very creative, and I love that. And then with the book, I mean, the book is really my life. I mean, the book is like the mental side of things, and the book is really something that I try and work on every day. The workout I do once or twice a day, every day. I mean, people ask if I take days off, and I say no.
The book, I'm a proud owner.
Good.
The fit test, 9 minutes and 1 second.
It's 100, let's see the order, 100 air squats, 100 alternating lunges, 100 sit-ups, and 100 knee push-ups.
I own the number of 1626.
That's actually really good.
Is it good?
Yeah, that's really good. Anybody under 20 minutes is really good.
Back to Danica the driver. What do you want people to remember about you as a driver?
Man, I just hope they remember me as a great driver. And then a woman, but they're probably gonna remember the girl thing, and that's fine. Like I've used that to the best of my ability to gain the most amount of advantages and opportunities. So I hope that they remember me as a great driver.
Coming up a little bit later in the show, we're going to dive into the history of the Great American Race. You're watching the Countdown to Daytona. It's one of the great traditions at Daytona International Speedway. The fans are the ones signing autographs on the start-finish line just before the cars hit the track. You see tributes to fans' favorite drivers, but mostly it's a chance to leave your own legacy on NASCAR's hallowed ground. The 24-year-old Alex Bowman hopes to hit that finish line first. Gabrielle Shirley spoke to him after he won the pole position, driving Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s old number 88 car.
Congratulations on this victory. What does it mean to you to win this pole qualifier?
Yeah, it really has very little to do with me. I just got the privilege to drive this race car. All these guys back at the shop at Hendrick Motorsports worked so hard on these Speedway cars. The new Camaro ZL1, getting the pole right off the bat, it just means the world to me to get to drive it. So it's a dream come true.
And how do you think this is going to, put you at the top for Daytona 500? I mean, what does that mean to you? What do you think that will do for you in that race?
Just being able to lead that first lane, it means a lot to start just on the front row, really. So being able to try to lead and control the pack is really, really important.
The pole qualifier, the winner of that, has not won the Daytona 500 since 2000. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's going to change in 2018.
Well, we'll see about that when Bowman battles the veteran drivers over 500 miles. Well, Gabrielle Shirley's been very busy at the track. She now has a behind-the-scenes look at how NASCAR keeps tabs on the race and makes everyone follow the rules.
We're at Daytona. It's a 2.5-mile racetrack. Aerodynamics are premium here. The teams are really going to push the limits.
Pushing the limits and pushing the cars in and out of these check stations.
It started out over on the far side there.
Elton Sawyer, who is a former driver, is now NASCAR's Vice President of Officiating and Technical Inspection.
The first station will be engines, then they go to chassis, then they go to weights and measures.
All of the cars have to be a certain height and a certain weight.
They run around here wide open, so everything they can do to make the car slick, keep it low to the ground, that's what they're going to be working towards.
The final stop in the inspection process is the optical scanning station.
We're looking at 200,000 points on the body. There are 17 cameras, 8 projectors.
In about 3 minutes, it creates 3D scans, which are compared to the correct standard. If you fail, you are sent back to the garage to fix the problem. If you pass, welcome to the track. Here, you have to follow the rules of the road, because these officials are watching you.
We will bring up every camera angle if we see something was potentially off to bolster the call we make to make sure we have it right.
Tim Berman is the race director. He sits in the tower, and he has access to between 20 and 30 cameras. 48 other cameras are recording every pit stop.
All the rules that are basically in place on pit road were for safety at some point in time.
Stop, rewind, play. The team in the pit road officiating trailer does not miss a trick.
This stop, the computer thought that there was a crew member over the wall.
Then they determine if there is a penalty, keeping the race moving in the right direction.
When Countdown to Daytona returns, we'll take you into a museum here at Daytona International Speedway, where there's a ton of stuff to see, including a car you don't want to miss. Welcome back. Tucked behind turn 4 here at Daytona International Speedway sits one of the coolest racing collections you'll ever see. The Motorsports Hall of Fame of America gets you up close to racing legends and cars. And if you love the Daytona 500, there's one must-see that changes every year.
The biggest word we hear from people as they walk in the door with that vista of the what we call the sweep of speed, people say, wow, quite a bit.
Oh, here's the Hudson Hornet. Wow, look at that.
If you love things that go fast, this place will make you want to go slow.
It's any kind of motorized competition in the United States, and that includes boats and motorcycles and airplanes.
Everywhere you look inside the Motorsports Hall of Fame of America, there is a winner. Like Marshall Teague's car. You've seen it in the movies without even realizing it.
He drove the fabulous Hudson Hornet, which was just in the early 50s a dominant car. And of course, this one was featured in the cartoon movie Cars. So all the kids, when they come in and see that, say, oh, Doc Hudson.
Ron Watson is the Hall of Fame president. He's as passionate for racing as the Hall's visitors, and he knows all the stories behind the machines.
We have two Indy 500 winners, 50 years apart. So this is Roger Ward's winning car from 1959. Completely different with the engine in front of the driver.
I would have to imagine this is a showstopper. The big three, the world famous three.
Well, a lot of people still see that as one of the iconic names in all of motorsports. And yeah, you hear them say, oh, there's Dale's car, and walk directly to this.
There is a history of the Daytona 500 literally at your feet. Yes, Richard Petty beat everyone while wearing boots. But there is something else you don't want to miss.
Say Daytona. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Daytona!
The 2017 winning car of driver Kurt Busch, right from Victory Lane, untouched.
This has been happening since 1996. We've taken every car and put it in here for thousands of people to see throughout the year.
Chip Wile is the president of the Daytona International Speedway. He once rolled a winning car off the track as a team member.
What other sport can you literally take something right off the track from winning the sport's biggest race and putting it in a museum? I mean, you look, you know, there's grass still on the car from when he did his burnout after the race, and still has all the dings and dents.
How rough can the Daytona 500 be? See for yourself.
That's a wheel right there.
Yeah, that's a couple wheels.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the wall. He took a hit.
And the car is a hit year-round.
And even days when we don't offer tours, we still offer folks the opportunity to come to the Motorsports Hall of Fame, and they ask, hey, can I still see the Daytona 500 car?
You know, it wasn't always glitz and glamour for the Daytona 500. When we come back, we're going to take you to where this all began and meet some of the drivers who started this craziness when Countdown to Daytona returns. And finally tonight, we're going to take a short drive just south of Daytona International Speedway to see where all this madness began. From 1936 to 1958, if you were racing, that meant you took your car to the beach.
So many people don't realize the history of racing here in Daytona Beach, and it really started on the beaches. What today is really an historic car parade, race car parade on the beach. It signifies where we came from. We actually have individuals here who actually raced on the beaches way before the Daytona International Speedway was created.
I'm Vicky Wood, and I drove the Chrysler 300. I drove on the beach, and I do hold the record on the beach for women anyway of the 100.5375 miles per hour.
I began racing here in 1953. This is my 1956 Mercury Monterey. I'm so pleased to be here today, representing all those drivers that are long gone. It's a hard thing to explain how it was running on the beach.
Good, you just have to watch for the water puddles.
Oh, that's true. I forgot about that on the straightaway.
Some of these cars actually won here on the beach. More importantly, just the fact that they actually run. You actually went south down A1A, you took a left, and you got onto the beach on the sand and came up the beach north, and then you take another left here at the north turn. Some of the footage is amazing when you see what it took to actually race on the beaches. It's really a great day, and when you get a chance to celebrate anniversaries like that and then to follow it up with a great parade of these historic race cars on the beach, I can't imagine a better way to celebrate a 60th birthday than today.
Oh, it was wonderful. I really enjoyed driving so much.
In addition to this being the 60th anniversary of the Daytona 500, it's also the 70th anniversary of NASCAR. Well, that's all the time we have for Countdown to Daytona. Only thing left is to find out which driver rolls his or her car into that museum. Enjoy the race, everybody.